Who shot Alexander Hamilton in that famous duel? All right, let's go to the phones and see who's out there.
Hello, for $10,000. Who shot? Excuse me?
Hang on, let me take a look.
I'm sorry. Maybe next time.
Got milk.
That classic dairy industry ad campaign encouraged Americans to put milk in the fridge, but consumers' tastes have been changing. Milk consumption is down 42% from what it was a half century ago, from 247 pounds per person in 1975 to just 144 pounds today. And that's put a squeeze on dairy farms. There are about half as many as there were in 2003, a loss of more than 38,000 licensed operations. But those that remain are finding ways to adapt to this changing world. We visited 2 upstate New York farms with 2 very different approaches.
They'd all be out here in the pasture, grazing in the morning. Maybe not this time of year, but possibly with as warm as it is.
Walk through Tom Murray's old dairy farm, and you sense an emptiness in a space once teeming with life. So this is where you did it all?
Yeah, this is where we milked our cows. This is where a lot of the herd was kept.
Vacant stalls where 90 Holsteins herded together to deliver their yield. Do you miss them?
We don't miss losing money. If we could make money, we'd still be doing it.
Losing money forced Murray to shut down milk production in 2019 and sell off his prized heifers, even the descendants of his best, Lucinda.
Well, she set the world's milk production record in 1997, 21 gallon a day.
21 gallons, what's the average?
About 14 is about 100 pounds of milk per day per cow, both 14 gallon.
Wow.
Yeah. We had good cows, so to make that decision was very personal, but also very needed for economic stability of this property.
Still gets to you.
Oh, yeah. When we're competing against the Walmarts and the Lowe's of this world on this size scale, we just don't cut it. We just don't have that scale of efficiency.
So this first-generation dairy farmer specialized. He became the big cheese of Miranda cheese.
Now, this is red pepper flake. And the heat will come late. It's not
Late?
late.
How late?
Well, at the finish.
How hot?
Well, I don't know your tolerance level, but it'll be fine.
Unlike milk, cheese consumption has nearly doubled over the last 4 decades. New York is already among the nation's top producers and ranks #1 in yogurt, cottage cheese, and sour cream production.
Well, we're trying to create a market to make our own cheese and create a destination here in the Finger Lakes. And it just happens to go good with all the craft beverage facilities that are already here.
And he continued his expansion with live music and tasting events. That's one approach.
Watch over here. These cows are being released.
Doug Young has another.
So it's all about efficiency.
He went big, increasing the number of cows at Spruce Haven Farms from 120 to 2,000.
You have to have a high levels of production per cow and per farm. Then you can spread the costs of expertise. And there's so many areas of expertise in dairy that there's no way one person can be good at all of them.
So essentially, diversification is the key.
Specialization. Whoever's responsible for breeding the cows or feeding the cows or taking care of sick cows, they have to be so good at it. They have to be as good as a veterinarian.
But that wasn't all. He joined forces with his neighbors.
International trade is actually phenomenal.
Former investment banker turned milkman Kevin Ellis heads Cayuga Milk Ingredients, a co-op of 30 farmers, including Young, who banded together 13 years ago to figure out their future.
The farmers of this region were shipping their milk as far as New York City, close to Boston, down into southern New Jersey to find milk markets. 10% of their gross income was going to transportation costs. That did not seem to be sustainable. So we started to envision building a plant locally to shorten the haul distance.
That plant also helped farmers erase the middleman. They process and market their own products They even handle research and development. One of their solutions, dehydrating milk into powder to lessen its weight, which made it highly profitable.
To give you an idea, it was costing $2.50 a hundredweight to get product to New York City. When we take the water out, we can move that same product to Shanghai for 67 cents.
And then there's this, the manure digester.
What you're smelling is power.
Young sons Luke and Dustin are behind their sustainability operation.
Retention of 1.5 million gallons of raw manure. Under the cover, there's no oxygen, and it's at a temperature of about 104 degrees. So at that temperature, the microbes in there really break down the manure and release the methane. And we produce just over 500 kilowatts an hour.
What does that mean?
It powers our farm and about 2 farms the same size.
A utility savings of $250,000 a year for this 4,000-acre farm, a significant reduction in their carbon footprint, moving one day, they hope, to net zero.
Is it catching on?
I believe it really is. The technology is getting to a point where it makes sense for people to do. You know, it's easy to do something like this when you're not carrying the entirety of the risk.
So sustainability is a new word for an old principle, stewardship, which really comes from the Bible. So now that we have the ability to advance the science and measure the data, like carbon footprint per unit of nutrition or nitrogen footprint, we can measure it and manage it.
Do you want other farms to do what you've done?
It's clear now that the global food companies and consumers are expecting it, so we need to provide what the consumers need and want.
Oh, wow.
Ensuring a future for the next generation of dairy and farmers.